Coming back in 1992, moving to Columbia, South Carolina, I'm a northerner. What am I doing in Columbia, South Carolina? In the Chicago area, on the hottest day of the year, if you went to Lake Michigan, you put your foot in the water, it would ache. It's still cold. When you're a northerner, you don't even think about that. You say, yeah, after 5 minutes, I'll start getting used to it, kind of thing. You don't even think. That's what you have to do. If you want to swim, you go to Lake Michigan and you just take 5 minutes for your body to get used to it. If I come to South Carolina and they swim here for 6 months of the year at Hilton. So we really enjoyed we lived on what they call Faculty Row at CIU. It's no longer there. We lived with other CIU administrators. And I was the headmaster of Ben Lippen in 1994. That was it was a hard school because we had a resident program with internationals. And then we had to deal with this Columbia International University. They're a great university, but they tended to micromanage the Ben Lippen program with good intentions. But at any rate, in 1994, Andy and I and two other Americans took about 10 10th graders who graduated later, they graduated in 96 from Ben Lippen. We took 10 of them to China. We went on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square, what we call the massacre, they call it the incident. But we went not realizing why we were there at the wrong time. The Public Security Bureau said, get out of here, the city. We don't want you here. And we're saying, these 17-year-olds were 12 years old at the time. You don't have to worry about them. Nope, get out. And they kind of kicked us out. So we went to Xi'an, and we had a good time, and they all came home. Just before we were getting kicked out of the city, my foreign language head, Wang Jianren, said, you need to meet Yao Li Yun, who is the head of the Shanxi South Ocean International School. To make a long story short, I didn't want to do it. I was kind of irritated with them kicking me out, but I had enough Chinese in me to say, just follow what they say. So I met those people. Then later, they all filled out the paperwork for Ben Lippen, 15 international students. I wrote to the American Embassy. I'm still in Columbia as headmaster and sent VHS at that time. That was the popular thing. I went to the American Embassy with two Chinese gals who were coming as chaperones with these guys and gals if they could get through. Walk in the American Embassy. I'm the only American there. It's crowded full of people. And the two gals took the 15 passports to the desk, and the lady holds up these 15 passports, says to her boss, a guy named Parrish, what should I do with these? He looks out at the audience, said, who's responsible for these? I'm the only American there. I said, I am. Come up here. And I went up there, and what is this all about? I said, I've sent you stuff about this. I told you about I don't ever read that stuff. And I remember the precise words he said to me. He said, I am not disposed to help you. Now, at the time, I was 52. And this guy's in his 40s. And I'm feeling like, you don't treat me like that. But I'm saying, hey, it's time to humble yourself. So, okay, sir. So I went back and I just sat down. There's something about what he said, I'm not disposed to help you, that somehow gave me hope. And the two Chinese girls are sitting there, what should we do? I said, just sit here. So what happens in an American embassy, there might be 200 Chinese kids there trying to get visas. And either they go happy or they're very sad and they're crying, etc. Finally, the whole place empties. And these all workers, these visa-issuing officers, they've gone back for lunch. And we're just sitting there, and my Chinese gals are sitting there wondering, just sit here. And the head guy comes out, and he begins to stamp approval on 15 passports, which was really a minor miracle. And consequently, those kids flew to New York, and we picked them up and took them to Ben Lippen, and they all graduated from Ben Lippen eventually. Most of them graduated in 1998, 99, and all went to not Columbia, Harvard, Yale, thankfully, but to good universities throughout the United States. And so I basically started the international program at Ben Lippen. That was kind of the beginning of it, and then I began to recruit more and started to go to Asia and look for students, from which the organization called CASA, Creative Alternatives for Study Abroad, which we started later. That's really what happened with Ben Lippen. Those were good days. We were there from 1992 to 2000. John had graduated from the Dalat School and came home and did some work before he enrolled at CIU. Andy was at CIU for a while, then transferred to the University of South Carolina, got his degree. Emily was at Ben Lippen for that time. She was homeschooled until about the 8th grade, and then played volleyball for Andy. It was a hard job because it was hard enough being the headmaster, but also international program, and then kind of interacting with Columbia International University. They wanted a K through PhD program, or a K through D-Min, they call it, Doctor of Ministry. It was difficult to fit into that. Higher ed people think differently than K through 12 people. Higher ed people, 5 people are needed to make any decision. In high school, you can't wait for that. You're dealing with a kid who's about to slug somebody, and you're dealing with things where you have to make a lot of individual decisions. But CIU is one of the great Christian universities. I have a lot of respect for them. And Ben Lippen has a history from being one of the first missionary boarding schools up in Asheville before it came down to Columbia, South Carolina. But those days at Ben Lippen were good. One of the sad things that happened there was one of our favorite Chinese students drowned at Lake Murray. When someone drowns like that, everybody says he was our favorite. He really was our favorite. Everybody knew that. That Christmas, we took him to Pennsylvania with our whole family. He spent Christmas with us, Henry Guo, and he drowned at Lake Murray at a party. That's a whole other story. That was devastating. The parents flew over. Henry's body was in the morgue, and it was just a hassle. It was a very difficult time, but we got through that. The year 2000 is when we left and went out to Nebraska Christian, and that will be the next section.